So now let's take a look at the third Google Flexbox design pattern from Google Web Fundamentals. And this third one is, the same idea, but it's cool to see the code. And so here we have that, and then we have that. And the HTML to do this is actually 4 divs. And it's a great example of using a container to hold other stuff. And so we really have, when we look at our Flexbox here, we have body. And then this is a child of body, so it's an immediate direct child, so it's a flex item. And let's just, whoops, I collapsed the wrong one. Let me recollapse that, uncollapse it. I just collapsed everything. There we go. So this one right here is one of the, dang it did it again. What am I clicking on incorrectly? Maybe if I click there, no, it's not liking it. Whatever. This is one of the elements of the Flexbox. This is a flex item. That's another flex item. So we have 2 containers, right? 1, 2 that are flex items. And then these are just items in this container. So this is a great example of using a container to hold other stuff to achieve the layout that you want. And so this first one here, this is 100%. And this C4 is 100%. And so that C4 is taking up 100%. And oh, by the way, inside that C4, we have 2 divs, which are block level elements and which are going to stack on top of each other and take up the whole row as much as they can. But just for good measure, we've also set the width on C2 and C3 to 100%. So that's the example where it's like a good example of using a container to hold other stuff. And so here we have that, right? So we have that breakpoint. And so what would do that, right? We have 1, which is that container right here. And then the red line represents the container that's holding these 2 other elements. So the only 2 flex items are 1 and 4, right? Those are the one with the red line, which is holding these 2. So what would get that to go like that? And so if we have flex flow row wrap, and then this is width of like 30% or 25%, and this C4 is a width of 75%, then that's how we'd do that, right? So let's look at the HTML and CSS and see if see the exact code that made it happen. So display flex, the body makes it a flex container. And then we have flex flow row wrap, right? So this takes these and makes this a flex item and that a flex item. And, they're going to put them in rows. And so when their width is 100%, this is taking up a whole row and the red box is taking up a whole row. Notice under formatting, we have C4 and we do a border 2 pix solid red. So that's that 2 pix solid red you're seeing, which is holding these 2 right here. And everything else just gets the text color white and a background color. This one here does have a background color. It's just kind of a light blue, but I don't know if it does anything because when I refresh, right, we're not seeing that element anywhere. So that could just, but sometimes I look at this code I wrote a long time ago and I change it and I'm like, oh, there was a reason I needed that because I usually keep my code pretty lean. Let's just have some fun. I don't think we need C2 and C3 to be 100%. I might be totally wrong, but they're divs, right? And a div takes up as much space as possible. So let's ixnay. I don't know if that's a word. I don't know where that came from. Let's ixnay those 2 and refresh. Oh, interesting, because we need min height. So the width is fine, right? They're still taking up the full width, but we need the height. So I'm just going to put the height back, leave those back in so they get their height. Cool. So there was a reason those are there. All right, so then we need, we do our first media query, our first breakpoint, and right there we say C1 is 25% and C4 is 75%. And then the last media query breakpoint, we just say, hey, don't let the width of the body be, make the width of the body 800 pixels. So that's how this one is working. And again, hopefully you're watching this and you're like, okay, that totally makes sense. Like, would we have thought of this on our own? Probably not. Maybe after some time. But seeing that Google has created and recommended that this is the design pattern to use with Flexbox for layouts, it works really well, and it's on Google's Web Fundamentals website, Like those are pretty huge endorsements for really thinking about whether or not you'll use this layout technique. And the heart, the essence of this layout technique is right there, right? So you want display flex, flex flow, row wrap, and then anything you want on the same row, on each row, it needs to add up to 100%. And so that's all we've been doing through all of these examples. All right, so those are the Google Web Fundamental design pattern examples for Flexbox. And we've looked at 3 of them. In the next video, I have some hands-on exercises for you so that you could get your code on. Get your code on. Get your code on, baby. It's cold outside. Get your coat on. All right. See you in the next video.